Today we are going to be completely transforming this 05 STI with a good old-fashioned vinyl wrap. Quick little walk around before we get started. The paint isn't in terrible condition, but it's definitely seen some better days. Missing the rear quarter flares right there. Top of the wing is plasti dipped and peeling. Missing this side quarter trim as well. Some pieces falling off the front bumper. Missing hood scoop. You guys get the gist. For a 2005, it ain't terrible, but this thing is gonna look freaking amazing, especially with the color of vinyl that we're doing. I think the more you can disassemble your car, the better your wrap is going to turn out. You can tuck the wrap in places that you couldn't if you didn't have it completely disassembled. So the first thing that we're gonna do is start pulling some parts off the car. Here's all what we're gonna remove. The front bumper, the headlights. I'm gonna get the car up in the air, get the wheels off, side skirts are gonna come off, the mirrors, this window molding here, the rear bumper, the spoiler, the taillights, and the door handles. This is gonna add a few hours into the vinyl wrap process, but trust me, it's gonna be well worth it in the end. It appears this bumper was held on with one clip and maybe a few zip ties. That's quality right there. All right, so we have the entire car torn down, all dismantled, and we are ready to start wrapping. I should mention, the last time I washed this car, I did go ahead and completely clay bar the whole entire thing, just to make the paint nice and smooth. And if there's any areas that you wanna sand down so you don't see it underneath the wrap, you wanna do that now. For instance, on this fender, there was some pretty nasty cracked up paint right there, so I did decide to go ahead and sand that down. Let's start wrapping the car by wrapping the hood. It is a very, very easy panel. And yeah, I know it's carbon fiber, but it's a little bit beat up. I decided I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it instead of re-clear it. I think it's gonna look very nice, color matched to the rest of the car. So let's get started with the hood. Now, being that it's already clay barred, we don't have to worry about that. If it was not clayed yet, we would wanna go through and clay bar it. So in this bottle right here is 90% IPA, isopropyl alcohol. It is what you wanna do. It's what you wanna wipe down your panel with before you go ahead and apply the vinyl wrap. You can spray it on the towel or on the panel itself. Just get it nice and cleaned up. And now it's very, very important to go through, being that the vinyl is tucked on the back side of each panel by maybe 1/4 of an inch, you wanna wipe the back side of the panel. For instance, on the underside of this hood, we wanna get this whole edge cleaned, or the whole entire hood. This is one of the most important parts, because if it's dirty, the wrap is gonna start peeling up. Eventually, it's gonna peel all the way to the surface that you see and look terrible. So make sure you go through and clean the backside. So the color of choice we are doing on the STI is none other than Nardo Gray. The exact color is Avery Dennison. It is their gloss dark gray, or in simple terms, Nardo Gray. Should look amazing on this STI. So this is a 60-inch roll, 60-inch width, and I ordered 60 feet of it. 60 feet is way more than enough to get this entire car done, especially being that the roof is gonna go black. I'm pretty sure. I love black roofs, so I think the roof is gonna go black, but it's obviously always better to have more than enough than not enough. In this instance, in case we mess up a panel or two, we're gonna have enough to redo it. So like I said, we did a 60-inch width. So the width is gonna run this way on the hood, and then we need a trim from our roll. This hood is 55 inches. I would prefer a couple inches on each side extra. So let's go like 70 inches trimmed from the roll, and that should be more than enough to get this hood wrapped. To trim out the hood and to not get the vinyl dirty, what we're gonna do, being that we're just sitting by ourselves, we don't got any help, grab a wrap magnet, tack the wrap to the front of the door, and go ahead and roll out your 70 inches. All right, so there's our hood piece. This roll I'm gonna store up and out of the way. I'm gonna give this hood one last light blow just to make sure there's no dust or dirt particles that landed on it. And now we're gonna transfer our vinyl with the backing still on from the side of the car over to the hood. So right now I'm just repositioning the vinyl, getting it in place, making sure we have good coverage on the whole entire hood. Now there's a ton of extra right up in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim that off for now. Now little pieces like this, it's tempting to throw away because it kind of makes a mess, but I like to keep this stuff laying around for smaller pieces like the mirrors and the door handles and whatnot. So making sure we have full coverage everywhere. We got plenty of material everywhere. I'm gonna start off by peeling this corner here. Doesn't really matter what corner you start from, but we're gonna roll this backing underneath. Go ahead and set that back down. And now we're gonna reach underneath and we gotta peel that backing off, making sure not to crease the vinyl and making sure not to make it all dirty underneath. As you can see right now, it looks like a giant mess. Now with just a little bit of repositioning in what is called glassing out the vinyl, we will get all of these wrinkles out and of course get full coverage back on the back side of the hood. So you kind of just slowly work your way around. This of course needs to go way back. Like I said, I know it looked like a mess at first, but Avery and 3M, they're really, really good vinyls and they're pretty forgiving to work with. So you just want it glassed out, meaning it looks like glass before you ever put a squeegee on it. I would say that looks pretty freaking good. No wrinkles, no obvious wrinkles. There's like a little bit right there, but that's easy to get out later on. So now we're gonna start squeegeeing, and it's very, very important to start in the middle of the hood, work your way that way, work your way this way. If you start right here and push this way, you're gonna get a bunch of air trapped up in here. So you need to start in the middle and work your way out, pushing the air out. Now I did trap some air in here. So what we're gonna have to do, pull this vinyl back up. And let that air release. Not ideal, but sometimes it's gotta be done. Now this is the palm method. When you have a valley like this, it's best to start at the end of the valley with your palm. You can use a wrap glove if you want, which I probably should be using. Makes it a little bit more slick, and you push the air all the way down. Now what happens if you have some little creases like that? Simply pull your vinyl back up, stretch it a bit, squeeze it down, and they're gone. So the entire hood is wrapped. Now all we need to do is cut the edges and tuck up the vinyl, and we are freaking done. So let's grab our blade. If you pop it out a little bit, we're gonna trim or snip that end off so we have a fresh blade, nice clean cuts. And preferably, you can either use your finger as a guide. For example, put your finger right here on the edge of the hood. So it's about a 1/4 inch gap the whole way through, or you can let it rest on the inside of the fender, and that'll kind of give you the same effect. Use the fender as a guide. All right, first cut is made. So the hood is 100% wrapped and we are ready to move on to the next panel. I do want to get a rough idea. I did decide to buy a brand new carbon scoop for it. And I think the carbon on the Nardo should look quite pleasant. I think that accompanied with the black roof, it's going to be a pretty nice look. So that is the gist of vinyl. Now there's more tricks of the trade as you do more complex things, but those little tips that I just gave you guys, that should be enough to do a basic car like this. Now the sides, I'm gonna go ahead and do all in one sheet. I'm so used to doing just big sheets like this now with all the camo wraps that I've been doing, and it goes quite a bit quicker. So we're just gonna lay vinyl on this whole freaking side. The fender, both doors, the skirt's gonna come off, but the pillar included as well, all in one sheet. Makes life easy. Now one little tip for doing fenders and whatnot, if we go ahead and open the door, you can see how tight this gap is right here. If we take that bolt and pull it out and put a little spacer or a washer behind there, it's gonna make it a whole lot easier to wrap up in here. Other than that, this side should go pretty simple. Now there's a couple different ways to go about getting this seal cleaned. The wrap does get tucked underneath the windshield seal right here. In my opinion, the best way is go ahead, grab your microfiber towel. I know this one's quite dirty, but we're just gonna be using this section right here. So we have IPA right there. We're gonna grab our squeegee and we're gonna use the hard end of it. And we're simply just gonna put it up in that seal, get her down in the valley. Now it's easier if your windshield seal ain't all old and crusty like this one is, but get her in there and run it. It's gonna come out looking like that, and you wanna get it cleaned till when you wipe it, it doesn't look like that anymore. So this whole side is laid down, all good to go. There's 2 cuts left that I saved. I want to show you guys how I'm going to go about doing the door to fender cut and the door to the door cut. These are very important. If you don't do them right, you're going to have the color of the car showing underneath, and it ain't going to look good. The first step is the door to fender cut. What we're going to be doing, to make a long story short, is putting out our blade about that much, 3/8 of an inch, and we're going to be putting the blade on the front side of this front door and kind of angling it in like that. That's going to give us about an 1/8 inch of vinyl that's going to cover that front edge of the door, and then the remaining 1/4 inch is going to tuck into the fender. If we went on the back side of the fender, it would work, but being that you can see this fender sticks out more than the door just a little bit, you would see a silver line in there. Now with that cut made, tuck it in at first with just your finger, and then you're going to grab your squeegee and squeegee in the vinyl. All said and done, should look like that. No silver showing from any sort of angle. Let's go knock out that door to door. Same concept here. We're going to be cutting on the back side of the front door, angling the blade this way, just because we need all of this vinyl, or the majority of the vinyl, to be on the back door. And I'll show you why after I get it cut. If we cut the vinyl against the back door edge, we wouldn't have all this excess right here to tuck in, to fold in there. Here's how it looks on the edge of the front door and all closed up. That's how she be. All right, this whole entire passenger side is now complete. So the whole entire chassis of the car is now wrapped. Everything that you guys see right here, well, I guess minus the roof, that is going to go black later on, but everything else is complete. Now let's run through some of the intricate pieces. We have door handles. These things need to come apart before they're fully wrapped. And we have the mirrors. As you can see, this one was peeling quite a bit, so I did decide to go ahead and sand down the peeling paint, just so underneath the wrap it doesn't look terrible. If this car's ever going to be unwrapped, this would have to be repainted anyway, so it's not a big deal. Let's tackle the mirror first. It's definitely going to be a whole lot easier to get the mirror wrapped while it's on the car. Door handles not so much. Mirrors, you got to apply quite a bit of pressure as you're stretching the vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this up on the car. Nice little wipe down with the IPA. Make sure it's nice and clean. I have a piece of vinyl that's quite a bit bigger than the mirror cap itself, just because there's going to be quite a bit of stretching going on. Now it is pretty warm in the shop, about 90 degrees. If it was colder, let's say 70 degrees, I would most likely be using a heat gun to stretch this out. But it's warm, so we don't need to. I'm going to tack the vinyl on the top of the mirror up here, and we're going to be stretching it around the mirror cap. So let's get that situated there. I'm going to grab the vinyl here, stretch it like this, pull it down the side. And then same concept here. Oh yeah, she stretches fine in this temperature. You don't want to overstretch, it will not last. All right, mirror cap is all stretched and formed. Now we just need to go through and trim it. On the Subaru mirrors, there is this little valley, which is perfect because that is where we're gonna trim. Before I make any of my cuts, I like a fresh blade. So let's go ahead and snip this end off real quick. Very, very light pressure. Being a brand new blade, you don't need to apply much. And as you can see, the blade just sits right down in the valley. So we'll have nice, perfect, clean cuts. Afterwards, I do like to go through, heat up especially all the edges, but the whole entire mirror cap itself, just to make sure that this vinyl doesn't want to lift up in any weird spots. Easier to take care of that now than later on. You'd have to rewrap it later on if dirt gets underneath. You can see it's wrinkling up just a tiny bit on this bottom section here. So all I'm going to do is grab the hard edge of a squeegee and just push that into the valley. All finished up, she should be looking something like that. Let's wrap a door handle. Now, if your door handles take you longer than it takes to wrap the whole side of the car, that's okay. It takes me forever to especially wrap these door handles. This is a, let's see, a 4-piece wrap job. For starters, we need to disassemble the door handle. Every door handle varies a little bit in disassembly. These are very, very simple to disassemble. You have this pin right here. No clip on the backside or anything. It just simply pops on out. This mechanism, not very fun to install, but very easy to remove. Comes out like that. And we have a pin up front as well. That one, same concept, just pops on out. As soon as you get that front pin out, door handle comes apart. Now, as you can see, we have peeling paint right there and right there, so we need to sand all that down. Otherwise, it's not gonna look good underneath the wrap. So this piece is all cleaned up. It's sanded down where it was peeling paint. The first part we're gonna wrap is inside this door cup. As you can see, there's a ton of contouring going on. It is not fun whatsoever to wrap this in a cup. So we got the base of the door handle complete. Inner section there, and then an outer panel there. You can see it looks nice. You can't really see the seams. If you want to hide the seams as best as possible where the two pieces of vinyl meet, you can hide them on an edge. That's what I always do. Now I started working on the handle itself. Our intersection is done, and now we just need to do one final piece on the outside here, and we can reassemble the door handle and get it back on the car. Just got these little flare trim pieces wrapped up and installed. All we have left are the front and rear bumpers, the side skirts, and this rear spoiler. Now this thing's got a bunch of plastic up on it, so we're gonna have to go ahead and sand all that off, and then we can get this thing wrapped. Sanding would take forever, so I'm gonna try some Goo Gone. It is some really old plastic. So I have all of that plastic up removed. All of the damaged areas are sanded smooth. This, especially for myself, I'm not a professional wrapper. I don't do this on a daily basis. This is gonna be a difficult item to wrap. We can disassemble it if need be. There's a split right here. We can unbolt the top from the base if we need to, but I'm gonna attempt to wrap this whole thing while it's together. There's gonna be quite a few different pieces. I'm just gonna set the camera up and run a time lapse. Wing is completely wrapped and mounted on the car. This thing is quite the freaking project. Next up, rear bumper. So this rear bumper had quite a bit of damage, a lot of cracked paint, a lot of peeling paint. To make this bumper perfect, simply put, it would need to be replaced. So it's not gonna look 100% perfect underneath the wrap, but let's go ahead and get it wrapped anyway. Now, some things on the bumper that we need to do that we don't have to do on other pieces are what is called inlays. So in this license plate area, that's all gonna be wrapped first. That is an inlay. Reason for that is if we put one giant sheet of vinyl over the whole entire bumper, there'll be no way to get this properly wrapped up in the license plate section without it peeling off in the future. So inlays are great for when you have more intricate stuff like this. In order to do this rear bumper, we need 180 inches of vinyl. Fun fact, 180 inches is the length from right here all the way to right here. So that makes it nice and simple. I'm gonna lay out the vinyl and then we're gonna actually cut the vinyl in half widthwise. I'll show you why. So here is our 180 inches of vinyl laid out. Now we're gonna be cutting it in half, like I said, widthwise. One section, one half of it is gonna be for the rear bumper, the other half for the front bumper. We don't need 60 inches of width for the bumpers, we only need about 30. So it makes it perfect to just go ahead and lop this in half. So I have the vinyl on the rear bumper. Now this is the scary part if you're doing it by yourself. Pulling the backing off of the sheet for the rear bumper. So we're tacking the vinyl down in the center of the bumper here. Now, I'm gonna take this section. You see how I stretched it this way and pulled it across, pull it through. That goes much easier if you have a second hand, but it is possible to do by yourself. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the passenger side. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Now I'm gonna start squeegeeing the vinyl down, starting in the center of the bumper first. From right here to right there is fully wrapped. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of wrinkling going on right up in here. So I do need to go ahead and re-gloss that out, re-stretch the vinyl to get all of those wrinkles out. So that side is all finished up. Now we just need to duplicate that on this side. Our rear bumper is complete. Now, is it perfect? It is not perfect. Underneath the wrap, there is places where you can see that there was peeling paint, but compared to what we started off with, this thing turned out freaking phenomenal. Now, all that we have left is the front bumper. I'm pretty sure that thing is in worse condition than this, but let's see what we can do. All right, we got the front bumper loaded up on the car. Take a good look at this thing before I wrap it. This thing is absolutely clapped Just like the rear bumper, if we wanted it perfect, it would have to be replaced. That's a couple $100, and I know it can look really, really nice with the wrap. So let's go ahead and knock out some inlays. Front bumper wrap is complete. Every panel besides the roof is now complete. We'll wrap the roof when we get the car on the ground so we have easier access to it. But for now, let's go ahead and get this thing fully reassembled. So we are now done with the entire wrap on this STI. I really like the black that we did on the roof. I think that looks very, very nice. Carbon scoop goes nicely with the black roof. Now, one last thing, instead of wrapping these little trim pieces that are pretty faded and disgusting, I like to use this product that makes those pieces look brand new. And that product is called Cerakote Trim Coat. It takes forever to wrap all those little pieces individually, but if you just go ahead and grab some of this trim coat, it makes them look gloss black, pretty much brand new. Pretty much the same concept as a wrap as far as cleaning goes. I use IPA. After everything is cleaned up with whatever you want to use to clean, grab the trim coat out of this little bag. Very easy to use, just wipe it on. Well guys, that is gonna be a wrap on the vinyl wrapping video. Everything that I like to use, I'll link down below. Once again, I used 60 feet of vinyl for this 4-door sedan. I think that's about a good amount to order. The squeegees, the knives, knifeless tape, even though I didn't show you guys knifeless tape. The heat gun, didn't really show you guys, but it is a good idea to go around and post heat especially all of your edges to make sure it doesn't lift. IPA, everything that I like to use. The trim coat, I'll link down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.